Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today's guests are several of my new friends that I'll meet at Paris Packaging Week here in a few weeks. We're very excited to talk to them both. But let's start with you, Eva. Will you please introduce yourself and tell us your role at your company?
Yes, hello. Thanks, Cory, for having me with this podcast, and looking forward to Paris Packaging Week as well. So my name is Eva Lagarde, and I've launched a platform, Resources, and it's a content platform to help beauty brands develop sustainable product. It's only focused on cosmetics and on beauty and on sustainability, because I found that sustainability is very tricky, and cosmetics I've got a very specific technical problems as well when it comes to sustainability. So I'm helping beauty brands develop a better product.
That's really an important part of packaging right now, and the most difficult in the beauty space. So I think you've chosen a challenging area to focus on, but we appreciate that as sustainable packaging consultants, because it's really valuable and so important that we improve the sustainability of that kind of packaging, because it's often, in my opinion, the most difficult to figure out how to be sustainable.
Yeah, I agree, because in the beauty industry, as you know, there is like 5 sectors. There is like personal care, cosmetics, including color. You also have skincare, body care, and you also have a lot of actives that are very sensitive, etc. So when it comes to sustainability, it's just a nightmare. And that's where I started the company 2 years ago, because I realized there was a lot of confusion between what actually brands can do and what is actually sustainable. And that's why I set up the business, and only solely focusing on sustainability and beauty, because it has its own challenges. It's very different from food or from apparel. Everything is very complex with beauty. So I think it needs a specific content about this.
Very true. Very well said. Thank you so much. And Annie, over to you, my friend. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Cory. Thank you for having us, and also very excited to prepare Paris Packaging Week exhibition at the end of January. And nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Very excited to meet you.
So I will be talking a little bit about my background. My background combines marketing, business, innovation, and packaging from the very beginning. I graduated from business and management school, and because I was very passionate about marketing and innovation, about consumer products and know-how of excellence. So after my graduation, I started at P&G here in Europe, and I dived into the packaging industry right away.
Yeah, a little company we've heard of, right? Yeah.
A little company. I served there as innovation and packaging purchasing manager for liquid products, so involving both primary and secondary packaging. But the specificity was that I was in charge for innovation, and so responsible for chasing, developing, and securing top innovations for the group. So in very close cooperation with engineers, manufacturers, quality suppliers, partners, and of course the brand associates. So this is my background, and I never really went away from this initiative culture of working on transversal projects with multidisciplinary functions, and with this idea of making innovation a competitive business advantage, and with a fundamental marketing mindset, as we know when we come from P&G.
Yes.
So after P&G, I crossed the line from brand owner to supplier side. And I served as marketing and business development executive in various companies in the packaging and in the sampling industries. And I guess this is it. And 4 years ago, I founded my own company, which is called AB Agency, because I wanted to help mostly industrial companies and startups with their innovation and growth challenges. So, and also help them generate higher value from markets, from customers, from relationships and partnerships. So voilà, my main consumers are industrial packaging manufacturers, startups, and I also help brand owners understand better about technology and tech solutions that can help them in their consumer engagement and customer experience. That's the scope.
That's a broad scope and very important items that you're covering for companies. Sounds like you have a very valuable history and a breadth of knowledge. I find that companies are often scared to try new things and innovate. So to have someone like you who's done it before and understands the process, I think can be very valuable. Would you agree?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
Yes, I think business development is actually has a broad scope. And I think it goes from strategy marketing up to sales. And I can't really differentiate a good sell. You can't be a good seller if you don't have a valuable value proposition at the first place. So for me, everything is mixed and everything has to be looked at.
So true. We must add value to our customers or they'll go away. And that's such a simple thing and so important for all of us to remember from all sides of the desk. But yeah, well said. Great introduction. Thank you. Eva, I'm excited to hear about your fireside chat with my friend Mr. Tom Zaki at PCD Paris at the Paris Packaging Week. Can you tell us about that?
Is he a close friend of yours?
He is. He was a guest on the show. And I've met him in person once, just an amazing person and so much knowledge and history there. But
yeah, so much passion about waste. Who would believe that someone could be passionate about waste?
Yes.
So that's what he said. And he actually finds that the waste management industry is under-invested, underserved. And that's why he started to do that with 20 years ago. He was a pioneer in this environment because 20 years ago, imagine waste is a big name nowadays and people want to invest in that. But imagine 20 years ago, it was a no man's land, I would imagine.
Very true. Yeah, he started with very modest beginnings. But can you tell us about your fireside chat? What will you guys be focusing on?
So we're actually going to talk about waste and what are the innovation currently regarding waste management and especially what TerraCycle is doing. And obviously we're going to focus on cosmetics and beauty. Because as you know, beauty products are very difficult to recycle because of the size and the sheer difference of material between all of the application and the product. So we're going to dig deeper into what it means to be managing a product and especially, like all the logistic behind the collection of beauty products to make sure that they're going to get collected through the TerraCycle or through, a special retail store. We're also going to cover what happens to the product once they're collected, what they do with them. And I also want to focus with him on innovations because he's a pioneer, as I said. And so he's got a lot of idea about what the future would be like when it comes to sustainability and waste management. And he has a very interesting take on what it is like to be, to look at the future for sustainability and waste management. So we're going to focus on this, and it's going to be a fireside chat about half an hour. And as I said, we need to look at waste as a realm of possibilities, which wasn't the case until now.
I love that. That's so important to say, and so true. These materials that we used to call waste are now becoming valuable. And because with EPR regulations and new laws, especially in Europe, these materials will become more and more valuable because companies need to reach a certain post-consumer recycled material percentage in their new products. So what you're talking about with Tom and what you're working on with your customers is going to be so important.
Yeah, exactly. As you know, the new EU regulation is coming into force and they're going to have really audacious targets by 2030 to include a certain percentage of PCR, as you say, post-consumer recycled. So it's going to be super tricky. So actually working with TerraCycle is going to be an interesting avenue actually to get these materials back into the market, which today, as you know, they mostly end up in landfill. And so we need to work on this. So we're going to focus on this with Tom, who has kindly accepted the invitation, Paris. Yeah.
I'm very excited to hear that chat and be a part of that audience. So looking forward to that. Annie, you had mentioned some things that companies can do that you work with to use environmental friendly movements to their advantage. Can you tell us how companies can use ESG marketing to their advantage in the world?
Yeah, sure. I think that, as you just said, innovation and growth can't exist nowadays without a broad and robust sustainability vision and tangible actions for a better planet. So, as Eva said, there is a lot of confusion about sustainability and greenwashing and whatsoever. And I observed that some companies, particularly industrial companies, won't benefit as much as they should from the eco-responsible actions,
Right.
or that they don't emerge because everybody is saying more or less the same thing and the same way. So I started to elaborate on something that I call ESG marketing or sustainability marketing. And it is globally, how can industrial be more specific about their own choices, sustainable choices, and how can they turn it into a real competitive advantage, specifically when they are competing in tenders, for instance.
Yeah.
Because as I said, most of the time it's a big speech, but with no specificities. So,
Right.
For instance, I think that companies, something that we could do is, first of all, work on companies' specificities and thus far beyond the products and techniques. And most of the time, manufacturers don't really know how to go to specificities outside products and techniques.
Very true. Yeah.
I think it's important also to identify the specific sustainable leads that will match their DNA, that will be the more consistent to their audience. You really find their specificities. I think one other thing would be to track greenwashing, and Eva is going to talk about it. I think track greenwashing and track inaccurate, not unreal, but inaccurate claims, because it's very difficult to understand most of the time. Another point I think is interesting. I think they should do is engage a real conversation with their customers and stakeholders to really understand what are the expectations. Because when we talk about sustainability or eco-responsible actions or things, people put very different things behind those words, and people have very different expectations. So this is a crucial point. And one of the last, I would say, way is to help companies also find the new and sustainable business models for a better planet and to have a more positive impact. But really, as we said, circularity is now the future. So it's not anymore about producing more and more. It's about producing better and better, and how to generate value out of it. So it's a new model for industrials. So this is globally, it's really working on promoting their sustainability in a business and a competitive approach.
Very important points in this conversation. Thank you, Annie. I think it's going to be, like you said, a competitive advantage when companies are telling a true story, and their consumers are engaging with that story, and they're working together to solve the problem of environmental issues. And it's going to take a lot of consumer change. It's going to take a lot of consumer behavior change, which is not easy to do. It can take many years sometimes, but I think if brands can tell the world what they're doing and why they're doing it, I think people will buy into it more often and create brand loyalty with this ESG conversation.
Yeah, it's a bit complex though, because for the brands, like whatever they say, they get backlash from social media, etc. Because everybody is an expert now, and everybody says, "Oh, but they said this, but I think this is this, whatever." And I keep bumping into articles that say like, when they claim this, but actually in actual effect is like 50 to 100 times, and like, this is just an opinion, or is it the statistic actually what you just say?
Right.
And when you read in between the lines, you can see that it's actually a personal opinion, and now everybody's an expert. So for brand to take on the stance and say what they're doing, it's really hard because they are scared of greenwashing actually.
Yeah, very well said, Eva. How can brands communicate their sustainability message authentically?
I guess for me would be to actually first, and this is the thing that people don't realize, and they are waking up to the impact that the fact sustainability is not silver bullet, is no silver bullet. You have to dig a bit deeper and to search what it means for your brand and actually develop a specific strategy. Yeah. And if you don't develop a specific strategy, you're never going to reach any specific goal. And so I think brands need to decide what is their stance regarding sustainability, because you can't fight all of the battles. If you want to look for waste, if you want to reduce waste, then you are probably going to increase your carbon impact. If you want to reduce the carbon impact, you're probably going to increase your waste management, whatever, I can give a bit more example if people connect to the platform, but yes, this is the idea. Like you can't really tackle all of the issues at the same time. So that's why you need to define your strategy and know where you want to go. And then from then on, you can start communicating and have a clear message. Like ideally, we would like to do this, but today we can only afford to do this because the level of innovation regarding materials is at this level. So we decided to pick that solution, which is the least worst as of today. Tomorrow, we hope to make this, and the next day we hope to do that. So that's the way I think brands should communicate. And because we are used to having a black and white, conversation, know. And as you know, in sustainable packaging, there's no black and white solution. It's more like what is the least worst, what is the best you can do as of today, because we are still innovating. We are still working on a lot of technological projects, but it's going to come in the market within the next, you probably know that working on this, that there's a lot of new materials and new things being tested, right? And it's very exciting, but it's going to take a lot of time for them to work with beauty, because just an example, when you have a formula that you mix with a new material, are they going to work together? Is the molecular concentration of, cosmetics product is going to be interacting with the packaging? How is it going to work? So this is going to take time for it to work. And so that's why the best way is to define what you believe, what is your stance about sustainability, what do you choose to fight for, and then from then on define a strategy and then communicate that strategy really clearly.
So true, such important, valuable insight there. I really appreciate that, because we're seeing a lot of greenwashing and a lot of packaging that's printed with green leaves and all kinds of fancy things it's made out of styrofoam.
But to be fair, I think most of the time people don't even realize they are doing greenwashing.
Very true.
Yeah, like they say things today and tomorrow is going to be like, give you an example, biodegradable. When we started to see biodegradable packaging, everybody was using the word biodegradable because technically the packaging biodegrade. Yeah. But so it was true. But in actual effect, like even plastic biodegrades, it just will take 5,000 years, but it will degrade. Right. So and now this word has completely been banned in Europe. I don't know if it's the same in the US.
I wish it was. It will be, I think, someday. We're working on a lot of truth in labeling acts and things like that in California. And a lot of extended producer responsibility laws will include truth in labeling. Biodegradable has been proven over and over again to be kind of silly.
So technically biodegradable is the reality, because it will biodegrade, like naturally degrade in the soil. That's what it means, biodegradable, sorry. But then you need to explain this will degrade within within that environment. We need to be super specific, and this is what we're going to see now in the claim. But before, when you said that, and imagine you printed your packaging 5 years ago, it's still on the market. Technically, it's not wrong what you said, but it's not right anymore. So. Right.
And so true. Annie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, because I think it's such an invaluable part of this conversation. Thank you, Eva.
Yes, I think, Eva, I think that the claims should be substantiated. And I think that Eva said that people need to be educated and need to have all and accurate information. So substantiating claims is very, very important. And for instance, for B2C companies, a digital passport is a good tool to do so. A digital passport gathers the full product identity and all the events that the product went through during its life. So by scanning a QR code, for instance, or using any other kind of technologies like RFID or NFC, consumers can have an easy access to the information. And if the solution is associated with the blockchain-based solution, then the information can be secured and consumers can have access to a verifiable information and an updated and updatable information, which is very, very valuable and interesting. So this is, nowadays, it's still a little bit adopted. It's not very new. Largely adopted in the beauty industry, more and more in the fashion industry, because the regulation is going to oblige the big fashion industry actors to have digital passports on the apparels. But I think, and I hope it will come very, very rapidly in the beauty products, because it's very interesting, and it's one of the best anti-greenwashing behavior is to have a digital passport on a product and give access to the information to the consumers. And of course, brands can control what they want to give access to. They are not obliged to tell everything. So they have really full control, because some of the brands are really afraid of this term transparency, because most of them would like to be transparent, but the process are not already 100% clean, and they know that, and everybody knows that. So brands have the possibility to tell what they want. But the most important, as you said, is sincerity and honesty. So you can prove what you say, and say, as Eva said, that if you're not good on this point, but you're going to be better soon, that's the best. So I think, yes, these digital passports are really an asset to that, an asset to sustainability and good communication between brands and consumers.
Yeah, well said. It's so true. Consumers are getting smarter and smarter and able to sniff out untrue statements. And so something like this, where it proves, hey, this is where we got the material, this is where it was made. You don't have to say the manufacturer's name, but you could say it's part of the world. And I really like, so important for the future of sustainable packaging to be honest and upfront with consumers always. You're hosting an event at Paris Packaging Week, Annie. Can you tell us about that? It's innovation and in the retail space.
Yes, so the event that I will be hosting will be on the newly opened edition of Paris Première. So it's not PCD or ADF, it's this new Paris Première session. And I will be hosting a session on innovation for the retail experience.
Wow.
And I named it The Future of Retail, actually.
Nice, I love that.
So we will be talking about the challenges that the physical retail is facing, about how all and digital peers are getting more and more blurred, and how technologies can reconcile the physical and digital customer journey. And more specifically, it will be the introduction of two interesting companies who are proposing both immersive technologies for a sublimated customer experience. So the first one is a startup. They are called Ugla. They are operating 100% immersive rooms with animation like 3D images from the ground. And those images can be operated and controlled by both the consumers and the sales assistant. They will show a specific use case from IKEA, the furniture company, who has been really seduced by the process and who is deploying it in the stores. So it will be very interesting, because it will be the first time that this startup show what they do in the luxury environment and to this kind of audience. And the second one is very, very well known in the luxury industry. It's a design agency called Shafik Studio. And they are totally passionate about metaverse. So they will show a demo about what they did for a clean beauty brand called Demain Beauty. So we will navigate into this metaverse experience and see how metaverse can be a very open space for brand extended storytelling, and including values and engagement, which is important. And how at the same time, metaverse can be a good space for retail too. This is it. And both technologies also give brands very valuable insights and data about consumers' behavior on retail. So I think the session will be interesting for luxury brands and other brands, and it's destined to address marketing, digital, retail, training teams, and I think they will see nice things and to inspire them.
The retail experience is changing every day, it seems like, and it's exciting to talk about things like, sounds like virtual reality and things like that you're going to be speaking to with that new company. Amazing concepts, and definitely a more sustainable option when you can get your consumer to purchase the item that they want the first time and not have to send it twice or more. Think of the reduction in carbon footprint of not having to ship something, especially furniture, long distances or even short distances, multiple times, and having to repackage and unpackage and repackage. So it sounds like awesome innovations there. I'd love to hear what you're excited to see at Paris Packaging Week.
Obviously, it's going to be all the latest innovation in packaging.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this because oftentimes this is like a rendezvous of the year, if you like, where people launch specific innovation. And I probably actually, I'm going to release at the end of the event a report about the most sustainable innovation. And I'm probably going to pick like between 5 to 10 innovation that I will find at the show. And because, you know, there's a lot to see and it's not easy to see everything. So I'll try to give a recap to the visitors and so they can understand what's sustainable or not, because sometimes some things may look sustainable, but it actually isn't. And so I'm going to give them a report about this quickly. Yeah.
That's exciting. Please copy me on that. I'm very excited to hear about that. That sounds wonderful. And when we're there, I'm excited to meet you both in person and really looking forward to this. How about you?
Coming to Paris?
Yeah, I'll be there and really looking forward to this. The team at Easy Fairs invited me and my friend Frederick Drew from Unilever and I will be working together on a panel. Really, what an amazing event. Over 650 companies coming and showing their, like you said, latest innovations in sustainability.
Or in general, innovation.
Or in general,
And so what's interesting about the show is like it covers cosmetics, but also drinks, and also like packaging premiere, which is more like the premium side of packaging, and also IDF, which is like aerosol, which is something we don't see a lot. It's less innovative, I would say, because we have constraint with the technology, but it's interesting to see all of the different aspects of packaging actually.
I think it's the whole gamut, and I think it's really exciting and cool to see all the brands doing all the new and innovative things, and a lot of them taking big risks, saying, we're gonna try this, and we're not sure it's going to work, but we're going to give it a shot and see if it is actually more sustainable and does provide a good customer experience and does ship the product safely. And it's fun to see these innovations. So how about you, Annie? Anything that you're really looking forward to in particular?
Yes, I visited the fair since the first edition, so I'm a fan of this fair. So I will go there to meet my friends and the full industry, of course. Like you, I also go there to see the innovations because, as you said, there are new players every year at this fair. So we have lots of new things to see. Also take the temperature of the market, as you said, and see how brands, visitors, exhibitors, what they do in terms of innovation, but also in terms of sustainability, as you said. And another point, which I think it is interesting, is take the pulse of the new generation, because, the fair shows awards with design schools, and it's always very interesting to go there and to hear what the new generation have in mind when they think about packaging, when they think about sustainability. So it's a good place for that. So
they are the future. Yeah.
They are the future, and we should listen to them.
Yes, and get their help. They're brilliant people. I've met some incredible students. Annie, how do we get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So I don't have a website, not yet, but I think the best way to get in touch with me is to have a look at my profile, where all my email address is and what I specifically can do for companies and customers, everything is there. So the best way is my LinkedIn profile.
Thank you. I'll put all these in the show notes. How about you, Eva?
Okay.
Yeah, it's really simple. You just have to go to my website, and there's a sign up box at the top of the website where you can sign into the email. I only send an email every other week, and it's a newsletter about sustainability and cosmetics. And then people can subscribe freely and they can unsubscribe when they want. And the website is re-sources.co, not .com. Okay, so for people to see that. And focusing sustainability and beauty only. If you don't work in the space, don't bother. But if you're looking for innovation, though, the thing is, like, I have a lot of R&D people subscribing just for information about what's trending in beauty, because sometimes we're quite pioneer in some innovations. And so if you're looking into like innovations and research and development, it could be a good source of information. That's why I called it resources, because to me, it's the sources for information regarding sustainability.
Yes, because innovation and sustainability are transversal subjects. So even if people aren't in the beauty industry, they could be inspired. For instance, I get inspired by food, pharmaceutical, or other FMCG innovation and trends. So why not?
I actually got contacted by someone who works in premium drinks, and they wanted my help. And I said, look, I don't know if I'm the right person, but yeah, sure.
I think you're both very, very correct. It's important that we look to all sources for wisdom and information. Thank you both.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible show. Excited to see you all in just a few weeks, and thanks again for being on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Cory.
Cory.